Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Pagani design PD-1676. This watch is available from Trendy Men's Watch Store on AliExpress for €117. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items that come with the piece. So the watch comes in this familiar black cardboard Pagani design watch box, and the watch sits on a piece of foam inside a foam cutout panel as one would expect. So although basic, it does suffice in protecting the watch in shipping, and I think it's acceptable to use this basic style of watch box, bearing in mind that this is a low tier price point piece at only €117. With the watch, one also gets this Pagani design branded microfiber polishing cloth. I always think it's a nice touch to get a branded microfiber polishing cloth, irrespective of the price point of the piece. One also gets this screwdriver for resizing the bracelet because it has screw pins. And lastly, one also gets this NATO strap as an alternative to the oyster style bracelet that comes on the watch. Nice attention to detail because, as you can see, the buckle and tang is signed with the Pagani design logo and brand emblem to a high standard. Nice heavy gauge of metal to the 316L grade stainless steel. The buckle and tang is brushed satin finish, as are the keepers. And again, nice attention to detail because one of the keepers is also laser etched with Pagani design. Good quality fabric to the nylon NATO strap, and there are plenty of holes in the strap to fine tune the length to get the perfect fit. So this will fit up to an 8-inch wrist with no difficulty whatsoever. Flawless stitching to the underside, so it's a high quality NATO strap and a nice accessory to get with the watch if the bracelet isn't your own personal taste. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Pagani design PD-1676. The watch is clearly an homage to the Rolex Daytona. I've previously reviewed the white dial version, which is an homage to the Paul Newman Daytona. So for reference, I thought I would also review the black dial version. If you haven't seen the Paul Newman homage version review, please feel free to check it out. With regards to the dimensions, it's 40mm case diameter. We have a 47.5mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 13.3mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the flip lock clasp, and as you can see, the flip lock clasp is signed to a high standard with Pagani design engraved. Flawless mirror polishing to the centre section, which contrasts with the brushed satin finishing to the outer sections. The flanks to the clasp are well executed with flawless mirror polishing. No sharp edge to the end of the clasp and no sharp corners, which is a common complaint of other Pagani design watches that I have reviewed. So with regards to the interior, it's solid milled stainless steel, 316L grade, and it's a good tight fit, nice positive click to it. So as you can see, matte finish to the centre section, flawless mirror polishing to the outer sections, the underside and the top side, and it's very well finished, one of the better Pagani design clasps I've seen. The clasp doesn't have a glide lock extension, but what it does have is an Easy Link style extension, which adds 5mm of on-the-fly adjustment, and it's very well executed. Nice positive click when one deploys it, and it also clicks back into the body of the clasp with a nice firm click. So the flip lock clasp works very well. It snaps shut with a nice positive click, and there's a nice positive secondary click to the flip lock itself. So the quality of the Pagani design clasps have definitely improved, and this is one of the better ones I've experienced. So with regards to the rest of the specification, we've got a double dome sapphire crystal. Now the negative of the double dome sapphire crystal is there is no AR coating on the underside. And as you can see, when I tilt the piece at an oblique angle in the light, it is highly reflective. There is a lot of glare and highly reflective nature due to the silver concentric rings of the subdials and also the silver baton hands, which are mirror polished to a very shiny finish. So this piece would really benefit from the use of clear AR coating on the underside, and this is something I think many collectors would be happy to pay extra for. For example, if the retail price increased by €5 or €10, collectors would happily pay it for good quality clear AR coating on the underside because it really does need it with the double dome sapphire crystal. The ceramic bezel insert is very well executed. The tachymeter scale is very well engraved. The Arabic numerals are clearly legible. The white paint is engraved to a flawless standard, and it really is a very high quality ceramic bezel insert. They've made the correct decision by having a stainless steel rim around the edge of the bezel, which retains the vintage aesthetic, because of course the original Paul Newman Daytona had a stainless steel bezel rather than being ceramic. So It does still retain the vintage aesthetic of this being a vintage Daytona Homage, but of course it has the modern day enhancement of ceramic, which is more scratch resistant than stainless steel or the other alternative, which would be aluminium. So with regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished, and it's signed with a Pagani design emblem embossed with a matte bead blasted effect to the background. So let's test the screw down crown action. Silky smooth, it's very impressive, and Pagani design deserve full credit because this is a very well executed screw down crown. So it's powered by the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz, and that pushes the winding stem out of the movement. And in the first position, it has a first click, which is the phantom date setting position, because the VK63 is a date complication piece, but however they've made the correct decision by not spoiling the symmetry of the 3 subdials and citing a date complication between 4 and 5 o'clock as per other Daytona homages. Pulling it out to the second click hacks the movement, and it is possible to hack the movement to the second, so set the time precisely. Now, the VK63 is one of my favourite Mecha Quartz movements because it's absolutely silky smooth. No backplay in the hands when setting the time, both clockwise and anti-clockwise, and I really like it. The only negative is the phantom date setting position in the first click. But however, one can put up with that because it's actually a very smooth movement. To set the time is very pleasant. Pushing it back in restarts the movement, and let's test screwing down the crown. Immediate thread pickup, this is excellent crown execution. I really like it. It feels silky smooth, and it provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance, which is perfectly acceptable for a Daytona Homage, which is a daily wear piece. So let's test the chronograph complications. Screw down pushers, which also provide an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters. Pushing the top pusher activates the chronograph complication. So as you can see, the chronograph hand begins to tick around the dial. Pushing it again stops the chronograph complication. Pushing the lower pusher activates the flyback complication, and the chronograph hand will fly back to the 12 o'clock index on the dial. And that works perfectly. Now this is something I really like about the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz. The chronograph hand always resets bang on 12 o'clock. The alignment is perfectly correct. And this is something that Pagani design deserve credit for because they always get the alignment of their chronograph pieces like this perfect, and I really like it. I'm just going to test it again. Nice firm resistance to the spring-loaded action to the pusher. It's got a nice positive click. I like the feeling of it. It feels solid and it's going to last for a good length of time. Nice positive click when stopping the movement again, and then pressing the flyback complication again, it resets bang on 12 o'clock every time. So the Seiko VK63 is a reliable, well proven, accurate Mecha Quartz movement and the correct choice for this piece. So I'll just screw back down the pushers, absolutely silky smooth, perfect interface between the internal thread of the screw down pusher and the external thread of the tube. So the pushers and the crown all provide an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance, as does the screw down stainless steel case back, which I'll show you. Now, this is subjective. Personally, I don't like the supercar, which is engraved on the back, and the checkers. I think it would look better if they simply engraved the Pagani design brand logo and the Pagani design emblem on the back, rather than this checkered formation with the supercar. But this is subjective. Some collectors might like this. It is mirror polished to flawless standard, and the engraving is very high grade. It also has the specification of the piece. Now, the benefit of using a Mecha Quartz rather than a mechanical manual wind or automatic movement is it's very low profile. As you can see, looking at the case back, it's very thin and low profile, perfectly flat and smooth against the wrist, so it's very comfortable to wear the piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. And having that low profile case back means that it fits very snugly to the wrist, and it reduces the overall thickness down to 13.3 millimeters. The solid end links are finished to an acceptable standard, however they are a poor fit to the head of the piece, as I'll demonstrate. So the main negative to this piece is the quality of the bracelet. In terms of finishing, it's finished to a high standard. The mirror polishing is good, the brush satin finishing is good, and the mirror polishing to the flanks is also done to a good standard. But however, the bracelet is very rattly and it makes an annoying rattling sound when on the wrist. So I'll just show you what the problem is. If you look closely at the end link pin, you can see there is 1 to 2 millimeters of play, both longitudinally and also laterally. So if you look at it, it's got 1 to 2 millimeters of play in every direction, and it's most noticeably longitudinally. If you look at it there, that's dreadful. And the problem is it makes an annoying rattling sound when on the wrist. Now this is compounded by each of the screw pins in the oyster style bracelet also having excessive play. If you look, there is a lot of play in every single one of the links. Every single one of them has significant play. We're looking at 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter of play in every screw pin, and cumulatively over the length of the bracelet, this just makes it very sloppy. And the worst one of all is this end link pin, and it's the same on the other side. We've got the same 0.5 millimeter to 1 millimeter of play in every single link. Now the strange thing is, on the other side of the head of the piece, rather than being a sloppy fit, the actual pin in the end link is too tight and it kinks. As you can see, rather than laying flat, it constantly kinks out of position. So they've got it too loose on one side, and on the other side it's actually too tight. The pin going through the end link doesn't articulate well. The bracelet is stiff, so they can't get it right. It's either too tight or too loose. Now there is something else I want to bring to your attention. Just look at the gap between the end link and the case. That is 1 millimeter of gap. I can push over the end link and then you'll see the 1 millimeter of gap on this side. So I'm going to move it. Now that is dreadful. It's one of the worst fitting end links I've ever seen on a Pagani design watch. That is 1 millimeter to even 1.5 millimeters of play. Now the strange thing is, on the other side, which has the sloppy end link, as you can see, they've got the end link fit correct. There's no play in the end link whatsoever. The end link is actually correctly profiled to the case. There's no gap. There's no play in the end link itself. So on one side we've got an end link which is a tight fit to the case, which is good. But then we have a dreadful fit to the bracelet with this pin. And on the other side we've got the opposite problem. We've got an end link pin which is too tight, so it kinks the bracelet, as you can see. But the actual end link itself has 1 to 1.5 millimeters of play in between the lugs, so it's just dreadful. The head of the piece is correct. I've measured it with my digital vernier caliper and it's exactly 20 millimeters on both sides of the head of the piece, so the machining to the head of the piece is correct. It's the bracelet that is the problem. The end links on one side, they've got it at 20 millimeters. On this side they've machined it to 19, as you can see, so therefore it's a sloppy fit. Really, I would describe the bracelet as throwaway quality. It's abhorrent. It really is dreadful, and it's a shame because they've actually improved the quality of the flip lock clasp. The clasp itself is good. It's just the bracelet really lets it down, and it makes this horrible rattling noise, which is very loud. So I'll give you wrist shots and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet. I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and you can see that it easily fits up to an 8-inch wrist. It will even fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist because I can easily slip my index finger underneath the bracelet and clasp. Now, with regards to the proportions of the head of the piece, they've got this correct. 40mm head of the piece is the perfect proportion. 20mm lug width is correct. 47.5 is very close to perfection. Lovely curved profile to the undercut of the case. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot, regardless of whether you're a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist or a 7 to 8-inch wrist respectively. 47.5 is very close to that 48mm sweet spot. The comfort level is 10 out of 10. The feel good factor is 10 out of 10. It's a sublime, comfortable piece to wear due to the flat, low profile stainless steel screw down case back. So gorgeous looking piece. The black ceramic bezel complements the black dial, as you can see, and it contrasts very well with the silver sub-dials. The dial execution is very good, and the execution of the baton hands is also very good. So it's a good looking piece. Personally, I think it would look better if the centre links in the bracelet were brushed satin finish, because it would give it a more sports or tool watch aesthetic. Mirror polishing makes it look more like a contemporary Daytona, and also it gives it a more dress watch look. I think it would look better brushed satin finish as per the PD-1676. But however, this is subjective. Some collectors will actually like the mirror polishing to the centre links. So I would say to you, this is a very comfortable piece to wear. It's 140 grams, which is very good, and that's the benefit of it having a Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz. It's significantly lighter than using a mechanical movement, such as a manual wind or an automatic movement. So 140 grams means it feels very well balanced, it feels weightless on wrist. On the bracelet, it does feel very good. It's very comfortable to wear, and it's also surprisingly low profile. It's only 13.3 millimeters, even with a double dome sapphire crystal, so it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So it's a good looking piece. The feel good factor is good, and it does feel very comfortable to wear for 8 to 12 hours per day. It's just a shame about the rattly bracelet because it really spoils it. So I would say to you, consider wearing it on the NATO strap, which is supplied with the piece as an alternative, or putting it on a rubber NATO or alternatively a leather strap, because that will enhance the piece. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged. Now initially it looks good, but unfortunately they've used C3 Luminova rather than C3 Super Luminova, and this will quickly become apparent because the lume is glowing reasonably brightly on the lume dots of the printed indices and also on the baton hands, but as you can see, it's now beginning to fade and fade fast to nothing, and it will continue to fade rapidly. This is what 2 to 3 layers of C3 Luminova look like, rather than 5 to 6 layers of C3 Super Luminova, which of course is superior in performance. So as you can see, the exciter in Luminova is not as high performance as the exciter used in C3 Super Luminova, which is higher grade. The lume dots are now beginning to fade fast, as are the baton hands. It does work okay. One can read the time, and one can also differentiate between the shorter hour hand and the longer minute hand. So the legibility, the orientation is acceptable, but there is room for improvement. And again, this is something that collectors would happily pay an extra €5 to €10 on the retail price if Pagani Design upgraded the lume. So it's disappointing, and it's something one has to factor into the cost of the piece, being a low-tier piece at €117. Right, so let's discuss the movement used, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. You'll all be familiar with the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. It's the correct choice for this piece. I really like the reliability and the accuracy of the VK63. It has a stated battery life of 3 years. And the 3-year battery life is based upon you using the chronograph complication for 60 minutes per day. But in reality, you're not going to be using the chronograph complication for anything like 60 minutes per day, and therefore it's nothing unusual for a VK63 battery to last for in excess of 3 years. They usually last for 4 to 5 years because you're not going to be using the chronograph for 60 minutes per day. So potentially you could buy this piece and wear it for 4 to 5 years before you have to change the battery, which is excellent. Now, the stated accuracy of the VK63 is plus or minus 20 seconds per month, and I want you to consider that for a second. That isn't plus or minus 20 seconds per day or per week, that is per month. That is better than plus or minus 1 second per month, 1 second per day accuracy. So I think that's exceptional. Really, plus or minus 20 seconds per month is incredible accuracy, and a 3 to 5 year battery life is also very good. So it's a reliable, well-proven, accurate movement. The VK63 has good build quality, the quality control is good, the quality of the materials is good. There are no negatives to it whatsoever. It's one of my favourite Seiko Mecha Quartz movements. So I really like it, and also like the fact, although it's a date complication Mecha Quartz, they have deleted the date complication. There's no date window. So although there's the phantom date setting position, it's got the symmetry of the 3 subdials. So I think they've made the correct decision on that. So I like it. I think the movement is very good, and I think it's very accurate. Plus or minus 20 seconds really is outstanding at this price point. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch for my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So this is a difficult piece to evaluate because there are some very strong points to the specification, and there are also some very bad negatives to the watch with regards to quality control and build quality. So really, to evaluate it, I need to separate it into 2, the head of the piece and the bracelet, because the head of the piece is excellent. and the bracelet is poor quality. So overall, I would say it's good quality and good value at €117. But I'm going to separate the two because I regard this bracelet as abhorrent and it's a throwaway quality bracelet. If you purchase this piece, you really need to consider wearing it on a NATO strap, rubber strap or leather strap, and then it becomes an excellent quality piece. The quality of the ceramic bezel insert is very good. The execution of the screw down pushes and the screw down crown is excellent. Weak performance lume, which is to be expected with Pagani design. The Seiko VK63 is a strong point. The lack of AR coating is a negative, but we do have double dome sapphire crystal, which is good. 100 meters of water resistance is strong specification, as is the screw down stainless steel case back. So I like the head of the piece. I think it's a very good looking piece, and I think the build quality and quality control of the head of the piece is excellent. The bracelet really is the negative, and it's a shame because, as I've discussed, the quality of the clasp is actually good. So I'm going to declare the head of the piece excellent quality and excellent value. I'm going to declare the bracelet as poor quality and poor value. It really is a throwaway bracelet. So overall, I'm still going to recommend it to you, and I'm still going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money based upon the head of the piece and the bracelet being separate. So I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Pagani design PD-1676. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.